Listen up, Agent. The following briefing is brought to you by From the Helicarrier, your #1 news source for Marvel's Avengers Alliance, and the Marvel Avengers Alliance Wikipedia. Welcome back, Agent. With the world we live in being filled with mutants, aliens, and other superpowered beings, it shouldn't be any surprise to you that we got psychics among both our heroes and the forces of our enemies. Power of the mind can be an incredible thing, especially when it houses some of the strongest effects that we must deal with. But keep in mind, not all mind-altering statuses are psychic in nature. Fear and delirium can disable you just as easily, and it's important to know the differences between the three. Because we're dealing with the mind though, many of the effects can and will run together, and I'll make sure to mark them down as such. Starting off with the psychic effects, of which are more offensive and direct in nature compared to the others, migraine is more than a simple headache. It will reduce all damage you do on your next attack. We've measured this to be about a 30% decrease. It wears off after that attack though, so unless the enemy you're fighting is able to inflict you with it every round, you should be just fine. Weak mind is something you'll have to take greater care of though, as it will increase the damage of all psychic attacks and effects by 50%. Not only does this make the already powerful mind users that much stronger, but they're absolutely terrifying when they combine it with the next debuff we'll go over, mental anguish. Among the most damaging effects around, mental anguish can easily remove a devastating amount of your base health in battle, upwards to approximately 3/4 of it should you be affected by the weak mind effect. This will only happen though if you make an offensive attack, so supporting and healing abilities will not activate the anguish. Either way, once the round that the effect has been placed ends, the user will gain mental scarring, preventing from being affected by mental anguish again for a round. Moving on to fear effects, which are more about scaring or frightening your foes into submission and can be done just about by anyone, we'll start with Broken Will. As you might notice, its effect is the same as migraine, other than its type. This is because there will come a time when you'll fight enemies that are immune to psychic effects, but not fear. Broken Will can help you reduce their damage, making them easier to deal with. Intimidate is also quite a strong effect, reducing the accuracy, attack, and evasion of the enemies affected by it. This is also where the final disadvantage effect comes in, being what happens when you use the skill against a generalist. I thought to cover it here instead of with the opportunity effects because of what it's considered as, a fear effect. The next effect, Cower, is probably the most widespread and well known of all the fear effects that we'll discuss. By causing a great amount of fear in your foe, you cause a 20% chance to prevent them from attacking whatsoever. This can only happen once per round though, so it's best to use quick action abilities to ensure you're able to deal at least one action during your turn should you be affected by it. An odd duck in the fear effect list, Doom is the only one that actually does any damage to your foes. Similar in many ways to mental anguish, Doom is more on a timer than activating on an offensive skill. Once that timer is up, it does heavy damage to the inflicted. It also removes and prevents all healing and resurrection effects, making it a very versatile debuff. Thankfully, it can be removed by resting without any ill effects. Should you want the Doom effect to activate earlier though, you should use the Demise effect, which causes Doom to immediately trigger, but also prevents Doom from being applied again for a round, so better be careful when you choose to activate it. Delirium is perhaps the most dangerous of the type of debuffs we'll be going over, as well as the last ones for the day. While not doing any immediate damage, every effect causes the victim to fight their allies instead of their enemies. Disoriented is probably the most common of these, causing all single target attacks to have a chance to hit your allies instead of your foes. This includes all debuffs that those attacks have, which only adds to the trouble. It has no effect on moves that heal or buff though, and attacks that hit all enemies are similarly unaffected. Mind Control, while being a delirium debuff, also counts as a psychic effect, and it will be common to see powerful psychics capable of using it. It causes those being controlled to want to protect their enemies, getting in the way of their allies' attacks a surprising 50% amount of the time. Thankfully though, getting hit by your allies is enough to break out of the mind control for that round. The final effect, Possessed, is actually only used by a select few. However, I'm including it for completion's sake because of the exploit Delirium effect, which of course deals more damage when a disoriented, mind-controlled, and possessed are all in play on the target. Possessed is an interesting debuff because as of this briefing, there's no real way to guarantee it in battle. When it does work though, it causes the affected to immediately attack an ally and then become unable to do anything but recharge the next turn. Perhaps because there is no way to get around possessed other than being immune to psychic attacks, of course, is the reason why it's so inaccurate. I hope this will clear your mind of any ill effects agent, and you'll learn to guard yourself mentally in the future. Next time, we're going to take a small break from going over the effects in battle to help gear you up. And what better weapons to equip yourself than with those you take from your enemies?